You want to start reading Batman comics but you don't know where to start? Well, we're going to give you 10 stories to check out. What's up, my comic comrades? One of the questions we get asked the most are which titles or stories are must-reads for various characters. Well, today we're kicking off a new series with the intention to give you our must-read list for various heroes and villains throughout comics. Obviously, there are a ton of iconic characters, so we'll be posting a new one every month or so, from now until forever. Today, however, we're kicking off our eternal journey with The Dark Knight and our 10 must-read Batman stories or comics. First on the list, we have Batman 3 Jokers. This is probably the newest story on the list, debuting in August of 2020. That's right, the storyline is only 3 years old, but for me, and I know a lot of other Batman fans, it was an instant classic. The story was basically the culmination or sequel to some of the best Batman stories ever written that came before it, such as Under the Red Hood and The Killing Joke. You see, the story revolves around the revelation of Batman finding out there's not one, not two, but 3 Jokers running around in the DC universe, each of which represents a different era for the Clown Prince of Crime. You have the Clown Joker, the Comedian Joker, and the Criminal Joker. In the story, Batman along with Red Hood and Batgirl investigate this and try to figure out what the hell is going on and which one is the real Joker, or if all of them are the real Joker. Now, even though the story is widely loved by Batman fans, it is somewhat controversial as it gives us an official origin for the Joker, expanding upon the Killing Joke origin while also confirming it. They also reveal that Batman has always known the Joker's real name. In any case, it's a great story and one that will be talked about for years to come. Next up, we have Justice League Tower of Babel. Now, this is a Justice League story, but oh man, is it also a Batman story. The whole story centers around the reveal that Batman secretly has a contingency plan set in place to take out the entire Justice League if they ever went rogue, confirming that not only does Batman literally have a plan for everything, but if given time, he could take out anyone, including DC's greatest heroes. This story is almost solely responsible for the whole argument. If you give Batman prep time, he can beat anyone. Just recently in the current Batman title, issue 27, this story was revisited on the first few pages of said issue, where we see Superman come to Bruce in his Batcave saying, "You have files on all of us, ways to beat the entire league, and they fell into the hands of Ra's al Ghul. One of us could have died." Bruce is all like, "Yeah, I made a mistake, but the mistake wasn't keeping the files, it was not keeping them secure enough." But the point is, the story is iconic and gives us such an interesting dynamic between Batman and his colleagues that is still used and referred to in comic books today. Next up, we have an easy fan favorite, and that is Batman Hush. I feel like this story in a lot of ways defined the modern Batman, specifically his tone and look. Speaking of design, this is a lot of people's favorite Batman costume, and I have to agree, it's one of the best. Hush is also one of the best mystery stories in all of comics. The story revolves around a new villain in Gotham named Hush, who's trying to destroy Batman's life as Bruce Wayne and as the Dark Knight. Hush turns out to be Thomas Elliot, an old school childhood friend of Bruce Wayne's, who blames Bruce for the death of his parents. The story features a brilliant rogues gallery with appearances from characters like the Joker, Harley Quinn, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, and the Riddler. This story also introduced Batman's romantic relationship with Catwoman in a way that still resonates with fans today. The artwork by Jim Lee is also some of the best Batman art you will ever find, making this an all-around amazing Batman story. Coming in at number 7, we have Batman: The Long Halloween. This is another fantastic Batman mystery that dives into the crime families of Gotham City, all while a serial killer called Holiday is murdering people on each holiday of the year. The Long Halloween also serves as the origin story for Two-Face, as we see Harvey Dent's tragic transformation into one of Batman's most iconic foes. The writing by Jeff Loeb and the moody noir-style art by Tim Sale make this a must-read for any Batman fan. At number 6, we have The Death of the Family. This is one of the best Batman vs. Joker stories ever written. The whole plot of the story is the Joker going after each and every one of Batman's loved ones and or sidekicks. Dick Grayson, Barbara, Damian, Tim Drake, and even Alfred. He's going after all of them and threatening to kill them, saying, "Batman, they make you weak, they make you soft, vulnerable. I make you the best version of yourself. I make you a better Batman. Because I challenge you and force you to be the best Batman you can be." Joker ultimately makes the point that he loves Batman more than anyone because he pushes Batman to be the greatest hero he can be, as he's Batman's greatest villain, always pushing him to overcome challenges the Joker puts in his way. So he needs to eliminate the Bat family because they keep holding Batman back from being the best version of himself. Which is awesome and very twisted. It's a phenomenal action-packed and psychological story between Batman and the Joker. Simply one of the best I've ever read. If you haven't read it, read it. In the 5th spot, we have Batman Under the Red Hood. The story sees the return of Jason Todd, the second Robin, who was brutally murdered by the hands of the Joker. Now resurrected, he dons the mantle of the Red Hood, a ruthless vigilante who's determined to take control of Gotham's underworld and punish Batman for not avenging his death. The story not only explores the complex relationship between Batman and his former sidekick, but also raises questions about Batman's no-kill rule and the consequences of his actions. At number 4, we have Batman, The Court of Owls. This story by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo introduces a secret society that has been controlling Gotham City from the shadows for centuries. Batman must face this new enemy while also questioning everything he thought he knew about the city and his family's legacy. The Court of Owls is a thrilling, action-packed story that adds a new layer of depth to Batman's mythology. Making its way into the top 3 is, of course, Batman Year One. The brilliance of this story is how it showed us an aspect of Batman's life that we had never seen up until this point. His origin story and why he decided to become Batman was already widely known. Bruce watches his parents get murdered in Crime Alley and decides to swear vengeance on all those who would harm the innocent. He then goes off for several years to travel, turning his brain and body into a living weapon. But this story shows us what happened when Bruce came back to Gotham and lived his first year as Batman. Again, something we never saw prior to this story. And it was brilliant getting to see a rookie Batman who hasn't figured things out quite yet and see his relationship develop with Jim Gordon and the GCPD and even Catwoman. It's a story that will always be one of the best Batman stories ever written because it was game-changing. The Batman movie actually pulled a lot of inspiration from this comic book, following a very early Batman. What I'm saying is, if there was a Mount Rushmore of Batman stories, this would take one of the spots. Coming in as runner-up on this list is probably a lot of people's number 1, and that is The Dark Knight Returns. This story quite literally ushered in a grittier, darker version of Batman. As we all know, the story takes place several years in the future where Batman is much older. We see him come into confrontation with the likes of the Joker, the mutants, and the mutant leader, giving us the iconic line, "When are you going to realize this isn't a mud pit, it's an operating table, and I'm the surgeon?" as he defeats the mutant leader with his bare hands. It also gives us the iconic Batman vs. Superman fight where Batman dons armor to combat the Man of Steel in one of the best battles the two have ever had. It was such an iconic battle that Zack Snyder decided to heavily base his Batman and Superman fight off this exact story. And I cannot blame him. It's a beefy, badass, no-nonsense Batman. This is one of those comics where it's like, do I really have to talk it up? We all know this story literally changed the game, not just for Batman, but for comic books in general. If you haven't read it yet, you need to get on that. Coming in at number 1 is Batman the Killing Joke. This story is so complex and brilliant that I don't even have the words to say how good it is. Simply put, the Joker seeks to prove to Batman that it just takes one bad day to make even the best person go mad. He does this by pushing Jim Gordon to the edge after shooting and paralyzing his daughter, Barbara Gordon. He then forces Gordon to stare at horrific pictures of his wounded daughter, who's stripped naked. It's a sick, twisted point that the Joker considers his greatest joke. The Killing Joke is a dark psychological exploration of the relationship between Batman and the Joker, showing just how thin the line between hero and villain can be. It also gave us the first look at the Joker's origin, which, as I mentioned earlier, was confirmed years later in The Three Jokers. Anyway, this event had a lasting impact on the Batman mythos and led to Barbara becoming Oracle. The Killing Joke is not just my personal favorite Batman comic, it is widely considered one of the best comic book stories ever written. Full stop. But there you have it, our list of the 10 Batman stories every fan should read. Each of these stories adds something special to the Dark Knight's mythos, showcasing the character's depth, complexity, and enduring appeal. Whether you're a longtime Batman fan or new to the world of Gotham City, these stories are essential reading for anyone who loves the Caped Crusader. Whether you agree with our picks or have your own personal favorites, let us know which Batman stories hit hardest for you down in the comments.